For those men that are thinking that it would be too difficult to get through the academics, too difficult to go through several years of formation because they are at an advanced stage in life, my answer to you is remember the disciples. The disciples themselves, the first apostles that Jesus chose, they too themselves were later in life. Careers, they had their lives established, yet when Jesus called them, they left it all behind. They abandoned themselves to the will of God. I was invited by my pastor to attend a missionary trip down in Kingston, Jamaica, along with himself and 8 other men from our men's fellowship group. Down in Kingston, Jamaica, we would be working with the missionaries of the poor. This order worked with the underprivileged throughout the city of Kingston. I agreed to attend the missionary trip, and this occurred back in Lent of 2015. While down there on this trip, we worked with the HIV and AIDS afflicted, we worked in an orphanage, we worked with the mentally challenged, and we worked with those that just were not wanted by society. After 2 days, the gravity of this work became so heavy upon my psyche, I had decided I would come up with an excuse in order to leave early and return to New York. My pastor, realizing that something was off with my temperament, pulled me aside one morning. Inquisitive of what was bothering me, I told him I needed to go back home. I said, this work is too hard for me. He said, Carmine, what if I was to tell you the sadness you're experiencing is Jesus breaking your heart? Why would Jesus break my heart after I traveled several thousand miles to come to this destination and work among the poorest of the poor? And he said, that's exactly my point. Because Jesus wants to break your heart so he can fashion you with his heart, and this way you could continue for the remainder of this trip and minister not with your own merits, but with the most sacred heart of Jesus. And by allowing him to break your heart, he can then fashion you with his heart, and you can go ahead and love the way Jesus loves. And at that moment, it all made sense. I needed to continue on this trip. I needed to surrender to myself. But even more distinctly, I realized Jesus Christ was calling me to the priesthood. And it was at the completion of that trip, when I returned to New York, that I finally had the courage, after many people for a number of years in my parish would tell me, you know, Carmine, you should really consider entering the priesthood. Well, that propelled me to have the courage to call the vocation director for the Archdiocese of New York and set up an appointment to determine what the requirements would be to enter into seminary.